right, guys. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. How you ladies doing?
I'm doing well, and you guys?
Good. We're good. We're good.
Awesome.
Doing great. We got a new person on the Reverb. Hey, yay! Miss Rochelle, hey! Oh my goodness! Thank you so much for joining us. What you guys been doing on Sunday? Y'all been relaxing, working, or what?
Relaxing, self-care Sunday, prepping for the week, watching reality TV show a little bit.
Oh,
okay. A little self-care into the week.
What reality show are you watching?
Real Housewives of Potomac County.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay. I missed like a few episodes. I have to get back into it. Okay. That's what's up. And what about you, Rochelle? What you been doing? Since, I don't know, is your pool still open or did you close the pool down? Or?
That pool is still open. Waiting for another hot day because I'm not ready to close it yet. So hopefully, I get one more, chance to go swimming. But just relaxing today, did a little bit of laundry, Just...
Okay. All right. That's what's up. Well, I have been busy all day. I cleaned out the basement. What else I do? Me and my son went driving. Yeah, that was a little scary. And came back, cooked dinner, and now, we are here at the Reverb. So, Renaissance woman. I got to keep it moving. So, guys, tonight we're going to be talking about changing your partners instead of changing yourself. We're going to go deep in this. Now, although we're going to have a lot to talk about when it comes to relationships, period, this topic it stood out for me because I think that sometimes we're not really paying attention to what our behaviors are when we're in and out of these relationships. And you might end one relationship and then find yourself right back in another one really soon. And then you're doing it over and over and over again. And you never really, take accountability of what your stuff is. Right. So let's jump into it.
Well, can I say something? Okay. So
Michelle, you starting off, girl.
Dive in there.
Dive on in. We listening.
So I feel as though when you have individuals that are in and out of relationships, and every 4 or 6 months they're changing their relationship, sometimes you are the problem. So you got to step back and you got to look at yourself like, look, I have to fix myself. I have to make myself happy. Can nobody make you happy? So you have that your cup runneth over. So you got to you got to make sure that you are right mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. So when you go into that relationship, all him or her doing is adding to the relationship. You're happy. You know what I'm saying? You're confident. So all he's doing is saying, baby, you look good tonight. You know what I'm saying? Thank you. You got to make sure that you're right. You go into that relationship and you're miserable and you got all these kind of issues and everything. Eventually, it's gonna phase out. They can be like, I ain't got time for this. I'm moving on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Absolutely. Anybody else? What are your thoughts?
I find it amazing that people jump from one situation to the next. And they never truly, they don't take, I think when you are in a relationship, as well as a job, I think you should do, for lack of a better phrase, an exit interview on yourself.
Interview on yourself.
Exit interview.
Okay. And what would that look like? I'm just curious.
Well, so I would say, well, Eli, what were your faults in this relationship? You don't have to do the side to side. However, I do think you just have to kind of take accountability of what role you played. And I think that when your feelings are hurt, you always attribute that to the next person. But there's always a caveat. There's always something that led to that person acting the way they did, I think. And some people are just writing people that they don't need to be in relationships. But there's always something. It goes hand in hand. Your emotional and mental anguish and pain, I think a lot of it has to do with what did you contribute to that becoming your situation. And when you never ever take stock of who you are, I think that affects you. And one of the things about growth is I think we don't understand that you have to kind of learn to unbecome some of the things that you have been. Like learn to become
unlearn some things.
Become who you are, and you may have to start over.
The whole person.
The whole person.
Throw the whole person in the trash.
Not just do the big chop and get your hair cut off, but it goes deeper than that. To become some things.
Okay. Okay. Miss Jenn, what you think?
I think in hearing you talk about the topic comes into mind. You evolve or you repeat the same cycles or patterns of behavior. One of the things that kind of like thought about, like, you know, as hearing you guys talk about, like, when we're in relationships, kind of understanding what's motivating our behaviors, right? Is it fear? Is it insecurity? Is it the need for intimacy? Is it trauma? You know, everything we do to meet a need. And when I say need, you know, our behavior is motivated by a deeper value, right? And so maybe to the common person, right, it may be clear that maybe I need to be single for a while. Maybe I have a part to play in some of the things that's happened to me. And to someone where dysfunction or is normal, that might be a little bit difficult, a lot more difficult to do. And I like the part where Eli had said, like, you know, taking accountability in a form of an exit interview, but, you know, for your role in things in relationship. And for the most part, I'd like to say that things just don't happen to us, right? However much of a role we play, whether it be small, big, usually there's some part we play into the things that we experience and kind of figuring out what that role is, right? And if it's beneficial for the kind of relationship you see yourself in.
Very well put. Very well put. Before we continue, I just want to send a shout out to Tanisha Thomas and Lucretia Bowden.
That's my family. Thank you guys. Bowden. Thank you guys.
Hey, thank you guys for watching.
Kalamazoo, Michigan.
All right. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Shout out to you and much love. Thank you for showing the Rebirth some love. Guys, please feel free to jump in. I am watching the comments on Facebook. If you have any questions, please put them down in the comments and we will definitely get them answered. So do you think that a person that, you know, we have this person in mind, right? The person that we're saying that is in and out of these relationships, right? Do you actually think that they're aware of what they're doing, that they're aware that they are a serial relationship dater and, you know, what's that song? She's and runner. What's that song?
I don't think they're referring to that. I don't think they're referring to that.
But you know what I'm saying? Do you think that they really are are aware of what the pattern has been for them?
I think the pattern gets lost. I think the inability to see oneself gets lost because most people just want to be wanted. That's why we have all these bad relationships out here. I mean, people are just getting together for the sake of having a mate, not doing it, not healing yourself, not looking at what this person has been through. If I meet you and you told me you were raped from age 10 to 15, and you haven't reconciled that, I mean, we have to really do some soul searching here because you're not ready to be in a relationship. You're not ready to maybe to even be appropriately intimate with a man. So you bring in, I think we do a horrible job, or maybe a great job of bringing our old stuff into our new stuff because we just won't recognize our role in things. And even if it's traumatic, or whether you just my boy Greg, he said, "Yo, I just have a bad picker. I just picked the wrong." Even if your picker's broke, or if you just have traumatic things that seem to find you in the same situation,
right,
you have to find a way to deal with that.
Right. Wow. Okay.
I think to answer your question, Shay, I think that in my experience, I'm learning that people tend to be more aware of their partner's behaviors and dynamics more so than their own. And I tend to kind of hear from time to time, when they experience or attract these same levels or same kind of people, well, dudes ain't ish or women ain't ish, you know what I mean? And so I think that they're aware of the dynamics of other people. They have insight on that, some level of insight, but not so much when it comes to their own stuff.
Yeah. Because people like to do the blame game, right?
Absolutely.
We like to point the finger what you doing, what you're not doing, and then we're lacking accountability.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't that kind of human nature to a degree, to blame others for our stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's human nature, but I also think that I think that I hear what you're saying. Is it human nature that we blame others for our stuff? But I think that it takes a certain type of person that hasn't done the work and really, learned what accountability is,
right,
to be able to do that. You know what I'm saying? Some people just don't want to, when a problem comes, they don't know how to problem solve, around it. They want to avoid conflict because people are afraid of conflict, so they'll run, or they'll totally cut something off and say, well, it's done, it's over, and then I also think that people do it to protect themselves because they're afraid to get, let go. So I'm going to beat you to the punch. Boom, it's over.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't want it to happen to them. So if I say it's over and it's done before you do, then I'm good. What you think, Rochelle?
I'm going to say that I don't think that they're aware of what they're doing. I mean, they keep doing the same thing over and over again. That's why they're in and out of the relationship. Let's take that ambitious woman. That I love my ambitious woman. I love all my women who are the CEOs. They're getting their PhDs and the whole 9 yards. They're independent. They buying their own homes and all that kind of stuff. And I love it. I'm all for it. But when you're in that relationship with a man and you're going that, let him be a man. You know what I'm saying? Don't go in there trying to take over or whatever. You can't be the man in the. Mm-hmm. So that's another reason why a lot of the relationships don't work, because we're not letting the man take the lead. I'm from old school. My mom and dad been married for 50-something years. My dad, he led the household. You know what I'm saying? He was the provider or whatever. Let that man play his part in the relationship or in the marriage. Stop trying to be the male. You know what I'm saying? You have to be a little bit run over. Let your hair down. You know what I'm saying? Let him step up to the plate.
Okay.
All right.
Daquan says it's vital that we are accountable in our relationships. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is vital. And I think that most of the time too, when you see that behavior in relationships, it's not just showing up in the relationship. Mm-hmm. It's showing up in other places with that person.
Sure.
Because if that person is someone that always blames and refuses to take accountability on his or her part, mm-hmm. most likely they're doing that at work. Mm-hmm. They're doing it amongst their friends. They're doing it in other settings. It's not just in that relationship. So then it brings me back to he or she. Right. He or she in this relationship, it brings me back to mental health, right? So mental health is so important, and I don't think people it's so broad, right? When we talk about mental health, people think that we're talking about just being crazy, like and off the chain and stuff like that. No, this type of behavior, right, that we see with someone that's, they'll start relationships, be with that person and leave and then go into another relationship. It can be a couple of things. And one of them being ADD, undiagnosed, or narcissistic
personality disorder. Mm-hmm. If you do not have the inability to ever see when you're wrong, you have to be really narcissistic not to ever believe that you're wrong or that you don't do anything that could possibly cause you to have the problems you have. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a prime example of a narcissist, and most people, women too, mm-hmm. but I think a lot of men too are dealing with their emotions. They carry themselves in that way so they don't have to dig deep. It takes a lot for us to dig deep and to recognize or to just be sensitive with ourselves. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, that's hard for men to do because you've been taught to be strong and tough your whole life.
Right.
This world is not going to give you anything. You can't be sensitive. You can't be in touch with your emotions. And that holds a lot of us back. Mm-hmm. If you don't have that someone, and I didn't grow up with any men in my life to say, hey, it's okay if you cry. And I grew up in the 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. No dude told me it was okay to cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if that's been your mindset for your whole entire life, when do you take on the characteristics of being able to do self-examine yourself and to dig deep within you? You don't have the ability to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Lucretia said, it's sad that some people in the brown culture thinks that when you mention mental health, you're crazy. Amen. You are so right about that. Absolutely. Absolutely. We, and the one thing that I'm really happy about is in the Black and brown community, there are more people coming in for therapy.
We're getting better.
Right. We're getting a whole lot better than we did before. And it's just so important because, our culture kind of grew up with, what's said in this house or what's done in this house stays in this house. We don't tell anybody our problems or, give it to God. God is going to fix it, but God, you can have God and a therapist too. You can have both, at the same time. But I think that we really got to really start taking accountability because these behaviors are hurting people. And what we know is hurt people, right? Mm-hmm. So if you bouncing in and out of these relationships and you leaving all this hurt and pain behind you, right? And you're never taking accountability because it's always the same person. What do you think is going to happen to you eventually?
Mm-hmm. And you don't leave it behind. It follows you.
Right.
It's because it's within you. So until you get that figured out, you can't run away from it. Mm-hmm. Whatever your issues are, whatever the things you've been through that you haven't dealt with, it's going to be right there beside you, like Shay sitting here beside me. It's right there.
Like, hello.
Anger. Hello. Jealousy.
Right.
Hello.
Right.
All
exactly.
of that. So we,
Exactly. Yeah. I want you ladies to dive in because there's another point that I want to make, and I just happen to be wearing a shirt that says heavy on the self-love, right? A lot of people, right? A lot of people are doing this that don't have self-love because they're looking to get love out of these relationships through somebody else. They're looking to get fueled through their partners, right? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what that looks like. Anybody to jump in?
Self-love to me is waking up in the morning, praying, meditating, getting up there, putting on my dressing nice, showing up. I want to look good. I want to look good for my husband. I want to show my kids. When you go out there in the world, you show up. Don't go out there in your pajamas and nothing like that. You show up. Sharp, you know what I'm saying? You treat yourself good. Go out there, get your hair done, get your nails done for yourself. Put yourself first. And this, of course, your husband's gonna love it. Of course, your children's gonna say, Mom, you're looking good today. Build yourself up. You know what I'm saying? You gotta love yourself. You gotta just make sure that everything, is right. So yeah, just making sure everything, just loving yourself. Love yourself. That's what it's
So what happens if you have somebody that is doing that? Right? Mm-hmm. They're doing all these, self-care things for themselves, but it's all surface, right?
Don't forget, you got to work on yourself too. When I say show up, education, go out there and get whatever skill you need to learn. Go out there and get that education. Get out there and get that promotion. Get out there. It's all around. I know I said that, but you got to take all of that in consideration. It's you building yourself up. You know what I'm saying? So you know that, I'm it. You know what I'm saying? I'm it. Keep growing.
I'm it.
There's levels to this. You got to keep growing.
Right.
Lucretia said, yes, Rochelle. Yes. Jenn, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
I think for a while, like when the words, self-love would come up, I think would be very overwhelming at times because in this day and age with social media being super present in every atmosphere of our lives, it looks so different from person to person, right? And so when I think about self-love, I think about behaviors that provide you the fuel to be your best self emotionally, spiritually, physically. It's multifaceted, right? And it's completely subjective. What I may do for self-love may be completely different than what you or Eli or Rochelle does. Right. And so there isn't a quote unquote blueprint on how to do it, right? But again, it's behaviors that we kind of do to kind of fuel us so that we can show up as our best selves in different dimensions of our lives.
Okay.
And let me say this from a partner perspective. Mm-hmm. If you don't have that self-love, if you don't have anything that can fuel you to be your best self, that's exhausting for your partner. Mm-hmm. Because now I'm in charge of trying to get you to understand how great you are, trying to push and motivate you.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. So, and that's why we shouldn't be jumping into these relationships, because we're lonely or because we ain't had sex for a long time. We really need to take a bit, or because, he got a couple of dollars or she got a couple of dollars. Let me see if I can get in while I fit in.
And because it's cuffing season coming.
It's about to get cold. Yeah, I mean, we do. It's real. So it can be exhausting for the person that you are in a relationship with. So let's be mindful of not wearing that person out also, because you're going to lose them.
Yeah. So one of the things that I know when I'm doing couples therapy is we talk about what percentage that you were supposed to come to the relationship with. And a lot of the answers is 50-50. And when I tell them, I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That means you're bringing half of yourself, right? So it's, if you come to the relationship with 100%, I come to the relationship with 100%, right? I mean, that's 200% that we're bringing to the table, right? And a lot of times people come into these relationships lacking self-love, number one, looking for that person to pour into them in regards to love. But how can I even begin to identify love or know what that feels like from you if I can't love myself? I can't even appreciate that from you because I'm not giving it to myself. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, okay, if you're waiting for that person to make you happy, then what happens if that relationship ends? Guess what happens? They take their happiness with them. If you're depending on them to make you happy, your happiness has to come from within inside of you, you know? So, I mean, that's just, that's my thoughts on it.
I agree. And I think that you have to, if you have self-love, then you know how you want to be loved. Like, you know what I mean? You know how, because love fluctuates. Mm-hmm. And I've said this before, like, what my wife needed from me 10 years ago, she might not need that now. So I have to be able to ride that wave and know what she needs in 2021. What I did in 2011, she don't need that anymore. We've accomplished that. Right. So, but she has to be aware of what she needs to be able to articulate that to me, which that all comes from self-love and loving yourself and knowing, okay, well, this is what I need now. Mm-hmm. And, but when a person can't give you that, man, you're trying to figure that out. You spend a whole relationship trying to figure that out, and it's going to fall apart.
I have some comments. That's a good point, Eli. So Sis, which is Carl says, damn Skippy. Gotta make yourself happy first. And then Lucretia says, how do you know when you have self-love? How do you know when you have self-love? That's a good question. So who wants to take a jab at it? I feel like I'm talking too much. So you want to? We'll get it. You can do the male perspective, and then one of us will do the female perspective.
Okay, I'll go first.
I could be from a male perspective. I'm sorry.
So I think that it manifested itself with your self-esteem, how you carry yourself. I mean, some people find self-love just whatever their creative outlets are, like things that make you happy. And it just like a few things like this. I think self-esteem, how you carry yourself, and whatever makes you feel good and confident in who you are and how you move. I think that's self-love. Yeah. An example of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And nothing's better than seeing a confident, pretty woman, and she's completely covered up, but you know she's bad, like how she's moving. You don't have to be half. I think the women who dress it half naked, they always got some skin showing. They don't. There's no self. Not all of them, but I think that some women struggle in the department of self-love, so they seek it outside of themselves. And if you have big boobs and you have that out, you have your butt out all the time, then you're going to get the attention you want. And that's where you find your value. You don't find it within yourself. Not all women who dress that way.
Okay, I said not every woman.
I didn't say every.
Okay. Well, but calm down.
I'm trying to how the people are attacking me. I
don't want you to get dragged now on the reverse.
You can't do that. You know why? Look at my t-shirt.
Oh yeah, you'll see this.
So you cannot touch me. I'm off the
Dear police, I am a white woman. I can't. Sit down.
Nobody bothers white women and dogs. They're the most protected species on the earth. White women and dogs.
I cannot. I agree. I believe that confidence is really, really important. But when you exude confidence, it just comes out, right? And I think part of loving yourself is also the ability to be open to love or have others, to receive love. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't have self-love, you're not going to be open to even receive it in a relationship, period. So those are some of the things that I think: confidence and ability to be able to receive love and also love others. You know what I'm saying? With no attachment. Right. You know what I'm saying? No conditions on if I do this, then you'll do that for me. Thank you, ladies.
I think too, also how you feel about yourself. And it's not to say that you're always going to feel great about yourself 24/7, but how you view yourself in the workspace or in your personal lives, how you show up there, I think speaks to, how much love you have towards yourself,
Oh, you finished? You was like, and then stop. So.
I thought she was on a roll.
For me, I discovered self-love when I became at peace. Mm-hmm. Yep. When I came at peace, because before I met my husband, I was in a relationship. I would act crazy. I would go crazy. I would go crazy, like in the beginning of a relationship, because that person made me crazy. Like I would see him talking to somebody, and I'd be like, "Yo, what's up with this or whatever." But now, when I met my husband, I didn't feel that. I felt peace. Like I was all right. You go outside and you can hang with your boys. You can go to the clubs. You can do this. You can do that, and I'm at peace because he showed me that trust. Like you ain't gotta worry. I got you. Mm-hmm. So just now, I'm going to the football game and I'm going to watch it with the boys. Go ahead, have fun. I'm at peace.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree, with that peace, because once you're able to obtain peace, right? I'm very, very protective of my peace. Yeah. I don't care who you are, family, friends. If you're coming, I work too hard to get my peace. Mm-hmm. So if you're coming to disturb that, then I will let you go. I will dismiss you because you're not going to peace. Having peace there's no price on that. You know what I'm saying? There's no price on that, So you have people that have millions and millions of dollars, but they are not at peace with themselves. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely agree about just having that peace, and also that awareness of knowing that, who you are,
exactly,
and whose you are. Right. And I'm saying who you are and whose you are. Right. And when I say that, I'm speaking about God. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because I am a child of God, I will not allow you to treat me any kind of way. I will not allow you to disrespect me. And being able to hold that, over yourself. And when people whoever it is, try to do that. If you're not serving me, when I say serving, meaning not serving me, but if you're not here to bring some joy into my life, to add to my life, then you don't need to be here. Right. And that's part of me loving myself. This ain't got nothing to do with you. That's part of me loving myself, right? Because I deserve that, right? So, yeah. Woo!
That was deep.
I got some chills. Yeah. So we're going to keep... Let me see what the comment says. Sis said he loves the t-shirt, bro.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yes. Lucretia said, come on, peace. Peace is priceless.
Yes.
If I could jump through the screen and hug all y'all. Oh, thank you, Lucretia. So it says, preach, sis. I know. Oh, that's the cuss word. We're going to leave that one out. That have all the money in the world and they are in the most miserable places. Absolutely. I absolutely agree. So guys, we got a couple questions. We are talking about changing partners instead of changing yourself. Right? So with that being said, what do you think? What do men really want in relationships? Wow. What do men really want? I know it's I'm cute.
Oh man. So I'll speak for me, and I think I can speak for a few of the fellas. The gentlemen on here, please jump in. Because everybody wants something different. What I require is I just have to feel secure, and I don't need to have to feel like that every time my woman leaves in the house. Like, I'm really big on class. Mm-hmm. I need you to be classy. Mm-hmm. I don't need you to be loud. I don't need you to be out here cursing. I don't need you to have all your stuff out every time you go out the house. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're my woman, then represent me while you're out there. And then I will do the same for you. I need you to be a good mother because everything flows from the woman, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so motherhood, love, and relationships, most of the time women, they carry the household, right? You know what I mean? They do. Yeah, we're dads there. We do stuff with our kids, and we're at the ball games, and we're yelling and screaming, and we're doing all of these things. But the woman is the backbone. So if my backbone is strong, then that pushes me forward even more. Mm-hmm. So I need someone who's just going to be, I can trust, classy. We can go to a hood club and we can go sit with the Obamas and have a conversation.
All right now.
And not that my woman would never go to a hood club, but your little bourgeois. However, but if I drug in her, she would go and she would be okay. But
I thought you said if I drugged her.
No, not drugs. Give her drugs. Like, come on, lady, we going. But just balance.
Okay. You was like, what?
We're a drug-free couple.
We got a whole nother show to talk about.
We're a drug-free couple. Thank you.
That's hilarious. So I have another question for you though. Do you think men set the tone of the relationship? And this is for everybody. Anybody can jump in. Do men set the tone in the relationship?
It depends on the man. There's some strong women out here that I've grown up seeing the women, like, every time a kid wants to do something, go ask your mom. Like, bro, I'm coming to you. So I don't think that that's true. Because there's some women out here that they have the kahunas, and the man falls in line. I don't run my house like that, however. But, yeah, the men don't always set the tone. I'm going to say absolutely not.
Okay.
It depends on the person. I mean, to Eli's point, you have very different personalities and people that are raised from different cultures. So, that kind of has a part to play in how people show up in relationships as well, what they've witnessed and experienced, growing up in their childhood. So I think that it could vary. Women could set the tone in a relationship. Men can as well. So I think it could go both ways.
Okay.
I have to agree. I think it's both. I think the man and the woman set the tone. I think you both have to grow and develop together. I mean, we reflect on one another. When I get up in the morning, I might set the tone. Hello, baby, I love you. Now, he might get up in the morning. He might say, girl, you're beautiful. You know what I'm saying? So I play off of that. We play off each other. You know what I'm saying? We motivate each other. So we both set the tone.
So So let me give you, I'm just going to play devil's advocate. Let me just throw this out there, right? Because you said there's some women out there that have big kahunas, right? That's what you said.
They completely run this show.
They completely run the show.
Yes.
But my question is, so, and I'm talking about when we're in the beginning of the relationship, right? So as a man, right, if I and I'm just, this is the devil's advocate. This is not my opinion, whatever. I just want to give a different perspective.
Okay.
So personally, I really don't care too much for the ability to run my mate, right? I am a strong woman and I need a strong man. I don't have no interest in telling him what to do and all of that, right? So you might have someone that is strong, but the respect that they have a man, you know, they know position, right? So do you think that if in the beginning, if a man is not, when I say about setting a tone, if he's allowing certain behaviors to continue within a relationship without standing up and saying, hey, don't disrespect me like that, or don't speak to me that way, will that tend to carry on throughout the relationship? So if I'm allowed, now I don't want to say allowed because, you know, I'm not saying that the man is over the woman or anything like that, but in the beginning of a relationship, if I'm, you know, like really passive about everything, I'm setting a tone for what that relationship is going to look like moving forward. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the perspective that I'm kind of speaking from. What is your thoughts on that? While you're thinking, Carl says, yep, it goes both ways. The tone changes due to circumstances. Mm-hmm. Hey, Andre, greetings from Apollo Beach, Florida. Hey, Andre, how you doing, friend? Oh, my God. So nice to hear from you.
I think that
what's your thoughts?
I think that all comes down to when you meet a person, discussing your expectations, like the things that are deal breakers for you.
Right.
I think if you put all that on the table and I respect where you coming from, what your deal breakers are, and vice versa, then we don't ever have to get to that point because we already have put this on the table and discuss it. We have this line in the sand. We're not to cross these areas. If I don't like to be called a BAN word.
Right.
When we arguing, if you come at me and you're trying to hurt my feelings in the midst of an argument, I can't be with you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And vice versa. So I think you have to put, again, this is what happens when you don't just jump into a relationship. Mm-hmm. You get to know a person and then you set your expectations, and then you guys should have an understanding. And if that person crosses that line, then it's okay for you to move on, because this is what I said I can't deal with. Right.
And Jenn and I touched on that last night's show, how important it is to, you have to talk. You have to ask these questions to get to know a person. Excuse me. And on top of that, we talked about dating all seasons and, making sure the person you dating in the summer is going to be the same person that they, are showing in the wintertime. So Carl says, if you do that passive stuff, you're setting yourself up to get ran the F over. No one has to be tyrant, but one person can't lead all the time. Absolutely.
Right.
And that's awful too.
I think to that, like Shay, in the example that you give, the word that comes up in my mind is boundaries, right? The rules that we create for ourselves about the behaviors that we're willing to accept in a relationship. And I think oftentimes what happens is that we have these boundaries, but we fall short of forcing them in relationships. And I think that kind of plays a part into why we may experience the same level of dysfunction or same kind of people in relationships because of porous boundaries.
Absolutely. I agree. Boundaries are important.
So basically, you got to nip that in the butt from the door. You know what I'm saying?
Off the top.
Off the top. Dipping it in the butt. Yo, I'm not having it.
Yeah. But I think too, you know, in order to know, again, this goes back to self-love, because in order for me to know how I expect to be treated, or I want to be treated, you know, I need to know that before I even meet you. I need to know what I'm willing to accept and what I'm not going to accept.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the identity of the person. This no matter who comes into my life, this is what I'm willing to accept. This is what I'm not willing to accept. Right. So again, I think it goes back to self-love.
Let me read a comment here from Daquan. He says, men want to be respected by the women they're in relationships with. A woman of strength, authority, one who knows who she is. She can be my best friend, a woman of prayer, a good mother. It's sexy when a woman is strong but has the ability to be led by her man. Amen.
Yes.
Nephew. Amen.
Yes,
Amen.
that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
And those are all the things that I think as people in relationships, we don't get. That's what's important, stuff like that. Not that the big butt and the pretty face isn't, you know, I'm speaking about my purposes. However, but things like that, that's to me, that's who you are as a person, the quality of an individual that you are. That's important right there. And if you happen to have a big butt and pretty, that's awesome too. We can bring all that together. But yeah, I mean, that says it right there for me. Let's bring that all together.
I promise you, if you go back and listen to all of my shows that Eli is on, you're going to get a big butt on there.
I'm from the South. I'm sorry. What do you want from me?
I'm just saying. So, what do women really want? We talked about the men. What do women really want?
What do y'all want?
What y'all want? What you ladies want?
I want trusting man.
Mm-hmm.
I want a man. Great sex. You know that.
Oh, okay. Just put it on out there, Rochelle.
Be good in the bed. I want to.
Is that teachable though? Wait a minute. Is that teachable? What if he's a good man and maybe the sex is not the best? That's teachable, right?
It's teachable. It's definitely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure that it do break. I mean, they want to know, right?
A protector, you know what I'm saying? Protecting over my family and me. A provider, going to work, getting up every day.
Mm-hmm.
Praying over my family.
Yep.
Those are the things I want.
I heard
All
that.
right. That's all good.
You must be married to Jesus. That's a pretty good man right there.
I ain't gonna lie, I got a good man.
Yeah, you got the game with the fellas today. Oh, Jesus. All right.
So silly.
I want to be like him.
I think all of those qualities that Rochelle mentioned are extremely important to me. But I think as I have gotten older, one of the things that I've shifted the focus to also include is how do I want to feel when I'm in a relationship with this individual? And I know some of the things that are important to me is like feeling supported, feeling seen and heard, feeling respected, feeling loved, feeling a sense of intimacy. Those are the kinds of things that are important to me, cultivating the kind of relationship or healthy relationship, that I aspire, to attract.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think for me, it's everything that you guys, were saying, but I think the main thing for me is, it's important that he is in tune. And I don't mean, he has to go in church, because people feel like, only way you can have a relationship with God is that you're in church every Sunday. No, what I'm saying is that he has a personal relationship with God, and he's able to listen in order to lead. You know what I'm saying? He's able to listen and hear in order to lead, his family or relationship or whatever the case may be. So sometimes we got to humble ourselves and not think that we know the answers to everything, right? And just kind of humble ourselves and really speak that with our own relationship with God, and then bring it back to, the people that are in your life that you love and care for, So I agree everything that you guys are talking about. But I also think that piece of it for me is very, very important. Right.
Yeah, without that foundation, I think, like you say, you don't have to be in church every Sunday, but you have to have a relationship. And without that foundation, nothing works.
Mm-hmm.
The relationship, the job, your friendships, you have to have that. That has to be the building block, I think, of any relationship. So
yeah,
I agree.
So I have a question coming in from Dequan. He says, I have a friend whose spouse will not open up at all emotionally. There is no depth of intimacy. How would you guys speak to this?
Wow.
Can you read that question again?
Yeah.
I have a friend whose spouse will not open up at all emotionally. There is no depth of intimacy. How would you guys speak to this? I think I'm going to take a shot at this one. Thank you, Daquan, for the question. So the first thing that comes to my mind, because I am a therapist, is the fact that there's something deeper that's preventing that person not to open up. And maybe that person hasn't shared it with their spouse. And it could be something that has happened in childhood. It could be some type of trauma. Mm-hmm. Usually when somebody is shut down emotionally like that, something has occurred, some sort of trauma.
Yep.
I am big on, telling people to seek therapy. I think therapy would be probably helpful in this situation. Maybe just individual therapy first for that person and then couples therapy. But that's my answer to it. Anybody else want to take a jab at that?
Yeah, I mean, I would be curious, this is kind of more of introspective work, but like, what is this person who may be struggling with intimacy, right? From the outside looking in, what's their insight, their level of insight on that? Do they believe that they're struggling with intimacy? Because kind of thinking about tying in, we said a little bit earlier, there are different things that shape the way that we interact and communicate in relationships. So to this person, how they show up in a relationship could be completely normal, or even to kind of take a step further, right, and kind of play devil's advocate. But, what are the dynamics in the relationship, right? Is there any piece to that that's kind of influencing how your partner shows up? So there could be so many different pieces of that. And I mean, a good start, a helpful start, maybe, as Shay pointed out, maybe going to a professional to kind of help filter out what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you said that, when you said, so the other thing that I'm thinking of, I know you want to jump in. The other thing I'm thinking of too, and you mentioned this in your answer, was what does intimacy look like for that person? Mm-hmm. Because if they was not shown that growing up, mm-hmm. right, or whatever they were shown, right, whatever they may not have seen that, mm-hmm. just like you had said earlier, you was like, I didn't grow up with a father in my life, right? But you still found a way to know what it is to be a man and all of that, right? Right. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, you good.
I'm still working on it.
Sometimes people are not affectionate. They don't show intimacy. Mm-hmm. Because they don't know what it looks like. They never seen it, right? Maybe their parents never showed it around them. Right. Or like I said, it could possibly be some type of trauma that has taken place. So it could be a couple things, but I definitely think the answer to it overall is seeking therapy.
Mm-hmm. That's because some people are raised on love and some people are raised on survival. So, how was he raised?
That was good. Say that again.
Did he see that love in the household? You know what I'm saying? Did he come from an abusive household? What was he? So how was he raised? That plays a part. Love or survival.
I like that. Some people was raised on love. Some people was raised on survival. Mm-hmm. Mm. That's a hashtag.
That definitely is. Daggone right. Put that on the shirt.
Right.
Rochelle, make sure you get your 10% off the idea.
Wait, I have a question, y'all. That kind of fuels me to think. So, like, with that specific quote, like, what kind of patterns of behaviors do we see in relationships from people that were kind of accustomed to being raised on survival?
I'm sorry.
Wow.
Say that one more time because I was reading the comments.
I said to kind of follow up with Rochelle, her comment of some people were raised on love, some people were raised on survival. What kind of behaviors do we kind of tend to see in relationships with people who were raised on survival? Not even just intimate relationships. It could be work. It could be anything. But like, what kind of behaviors do we commonly see?
Aggressive.
Yep.
Aggressive behavior. Controlling.
Selfish.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Aggressive, controlling, selfish, paranoid too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like just always thinking
The world is out to get them.
the word right. Exactly.
Yes.
You know, I'm not saying that's everybody, but those are some of the behaviors that, you know, you will see, you know.
And I think I'll say lack of empathy because no one showed you that.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you have the ability to now regurgitate that or to present that to other people? So I think it definitely psychologically it just destroys you. If you're raised where you're just in survival mode, and I work with small children and teenagers, and I see kids now that are 4 or 5 years old. They're already in survival mode, and it's really sad. Like they really have to fend for themselves, and you can tell how they interact with other kids who are coming from a different home. They're two completely different kids. They're angry. They're the hitters. They're the biters, and the other kids are the ones. If somebody falls, they'll try to help them up. The survival kids are laughing. So it starts early. It can start early, and it's heartbreaking sometimes.
I think you also see that now they can be what you call it? They can be
reprogrammed. I don't know what you're trying to say.
I can't even think of the word.
Right now.
But they can be rebirthed, right? We're gonna use the word
Yes.
rebirth.
Unlearn and relearn, yes.
How appropriate.
They right, how appropriate. These behaviors can change. I'm not saying that we're not going to say that this is something that if you grew up on survival, that this is something that is going to follow you through the rest of your life. No, but you do have to have a rebirth. You do have to have a come to Jesus moment and realize how, again, when we go back to the original topic, is it me that I need to change? How have my behaviors been showing up in relationships, right? And who am I in these relationships? Because that's an important piece too, right? We tend to forget that. We're so busy worrying about who our partner is, what they're doing, but who are we connected to that person? Because that's what's really important. Right. If I came in being a very confident woman and, you know, loving and all of that, and I got connected to somebody that was, you know, aggressive and controlling, right? Then I'm feeling insecure. I'm feeling emotional all the time. I'm feeling less confident. That's a problem. Because what changed? The only thing that changed was I connected to someone that was what? That was not healed, right? That was still, you know, living on survival, that may not have had the self-love that they needed. So that starts to, you know, play off into me, right? So it's really important that, again, you know, you heal. Because if we go into the trauma bonds, that's a whole nother show, right? Trauma bonds, right? Because we walk around, we connected. And this is when people start to say, well, why do I keep drawing the same type of people? Well, maybe it's the trauma in you that's speaking to the trauma in that person that's, you know, right? Because you can walk into a room full of people and have all these different choices in men or women, right? But the ones that stand out for you, you're going to pick the person that is not good for you. You're going to pick the person that is the same person you've been dating all the time because it's comfortable, it's familiar. We're not going to go for the person that, you know, is a little bit different, may look a little bit different.
Right.
You're going to go for the person that you've been dating over and over and over again, and you're going to continue to get the same result.
Let's read Carl's.
Yeah, we got a couple. He has a question here, but I'm going to go to the comments first, and then I'm going to go back to Carl's question. So Daquan said, that's very good. Lucretia said, wow, Rochelle, you said a mouthful. Tanisha, she says, Shay, this is a very good podcast. Loving it. Thank you, Tanisha. Thanks for the love. Daquan says some people are raised in love.
Hi, Miss Potts. That's one of our teachers.
Oh, Miss Jerry. Yes, Miss Jerry. Hi, Miss Jerry. Yes, my mother worked with Miss Jerry for years. Yeah, at the daycare.
Oh, Miss Jerry. I'm sorry. You know Shay. Oh, my God. Sorry to hear that.
Miss Jerry. Daquan reiterates, some people are raised in love and some are raised on survival. I love that. Mm-hmm. And Lucretia said, come on and go there. Daquan said, when raised on survival, there will be walls up for sure. Communication barriers and unwillingness to be vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Carl said, break it down. Love this topic. Miss Jerry says, some true people are raised on love and some on survival. Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm. Andre says your economical status a lot of time determines your love path. That is so true. That is so true. That is very true.
So let's touch on that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Y'all better trademark that line quick, said Carl. We're gonna go to Carl's question next after you make that comment.
No, I was just gonna say I agree with that because depending on where you are economically and if you are doing really well for yourself, I mean, I think there's a good chance that you may not always get a true, genuine person. To be honest, think about, and I'm just saying, for example, think about these ball players and these rappers and all these guys that have a lot of money really quick. And you're meeting all of these women. Now, they don't know you. They don't know what kind of person you are. They don't know what you've been through. They don't know that maybe any trauma. They just know that you are little whoever, and you have a lot of money and you're famous.
Right.
And they're willing to be with you and have a baby with you. So I think, and I don't know if he's thinking that extreme, but my point is when you have a lot of money and you present yourself well, you may not always get, and women too, you may not always get a true-hearted, well-meaning person who wants to really get to know you. You're going to get a lot of people, you know, and if your picker's bad, as my boy would say, you're going to end up picking the wrong one.
You and your picker.
Your picker's bad, you're going to end up picking the wrong one.
That's trauma bond. I ain't no picker.
Trauma bond. There it is. But if you meet this great girl while you don't have jack, then you know you might be on to something. If you don't have all this money. Remember we used to talk about women have this, they want a man with a job, a house, and a car. And I used to always say, well, what if he worked at McDonald's? And he was able to make his salary work. He has a job. He lives within his means. He has a house and a car. But he worked at McDonald's. Why is he working at McDonald's? I said, well, he's happy working at McDonald's. Well, couldn't he be the manager? Well, he likes being on fries. He goes to work happy. He puts his 8 hours in a day, and he has some investments because McDonald's has these things. If you're an employee, you know what I mean? They'll pay for school. So why does he have to be the CEO? If he's happy doing that, and he has the things that you women say y'all want, why is he off the table? Right. And every woman will be like, nah, I can't do the McDonald's. But let me roll up and see you back there flipping fries. And you're cute. And I'm like, dang, she's a girl on fries. Baby on fries is cute. And I get the number. I'm not going to try to, well, you just going to work at McDonald's? Is that all you're going to? Because in my mind, if I'm going to be with you, we're going to bring it all together anyway. And it's a double standard. And there's so many double standards with men and women. I get it. Yeah. And they most are to the male's advantage. But that's just one thing I like to talk about. Like, if that person checks off those boxes, but he works at McDonald's, what's the problem?
Yeah. Yeah. Andre said, what about a poor brother with a good heart? Absolutely.
The brother at McDonald's.
Yeah. You know, and I do agree with that. We did a show when we were on the Hottest Live Radio. We did a show. And we remember we had the two girls come in, the two ladies came in, they had their checklist. And it was a very long checklist. That show got a lot of attention. And I think too, you know, rather ladies or men, you know, when you have these checklists and you're saying this is what you require in a relationship. No, don't get me wrong. Yeah, you you want to have some type of standards. Okay, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but if you're requiring these things in relationships, like some women, they have this high value man stuff that's going on, right? Which is crazy to me. But if you are a person that's requiring a man that is
educated,
six figures, educated, and you dropped out of high school and only making $20,000 a year, like who are you to require that from somebody? You know what I'm saying?
Let me just kind of chime in, I was having this conversation with someone, but like, what are you doing to attract a high quality a man of that caliber, and vice versa? You know what I mean? I think sometimes we're kind of looking for qualities that we haven't yet cultivated within ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Bam.
I absolutely agree.
You better have a pretty smile, but you missing the side tooth. You can't make all these demands. You can't make demands of things that you are not.
You can always get that tooth.
I don't date dudes with a missing side tooth. But you got a whole grill over here, a little shaky.
Oh my goodness!
I done heard it all.
I got to go back to Carl's question. I think this is when we were talking about religion. Carl says, "What if a person checks all your relationship boxes and is damn near perfect, but then later on you find out they're an atheist? Is that a rat?" That's a very good question. Rochelle and Jenn, y'all could take that.
I was gonna say, I mean, I think it really depends on how.
I don't believe in God.
Look. I think it depends on the person and their value on religion, you know, if that is of high value and importance to them. For some people, that may be deal breakers and they may kind of separate from the relationship after finding that. For other people, they may share the same value in that. So not to say that in either realm, it may be difficult, especially if you've already cultivated a relationship, especially with someone that like you genuinely like and quote unquote damn near perfect. But, you know, I think to answer Carl's question, it really depends on the value that specific person, the opposite person, places on religion. For some people, that is super important. For others, not so much. For others, not at all.
Yeah. But I think this is where it comes back to, I have to go back to saying this is why the questions are important. When you're meeting somebody and you're talking, all of this should be in there. All of this should be in there. You know, what was your model of love growing up? What was your model of relationships growing up? How was money handled in your household? All of these questions should be talked about before you enter into a relationship with someone. Because if not, when certain things start happening, when certain things start happening, you're like, well, where is this coming from? These are questions that was never talked about. So yeah, religion should be talked about.
Or it was right there in your face the whole time, but you started having sex first and you were blinded by the good sex. So you didn't see any of that person's faults or any of the things that they, you know, things you just overlook things because this guy's or this woman is doing it to you like you've never had it done to you before. So no, but blind.
Not blinded by the sex.
Sex will do it. You'll be out here like Ray Charles. And all this stuff is going on. He cussing out his mama, but you ain't heard not one word he said because y'all get it. He do it to you good.
And I would like to add a little caveat too. Like, I mean, often, sometimes people not everyone have a level of insight regarding like, you know, how their past has played into their future, especially with the question that you asked, Shay, like, you know, how did you grow love? I mean, how did you observe love growing up? And for some people, they may not be able to answer those questions. And in those instances, to your point, Eli, being mindful of the things that you observe, their behaviors, throughout the dating relationship or whatever. And to tie in Shay's point, like dating all seasons. So you're able to kind of get more insight to those questions that person may not be able or may not have the insight to answer just yet.
Yeah, good point.
And I always say, go to the person you're dating, go to the person in their family that they don't get along with as well.
Speak to them.
Because his mama, his sisters, my brother's the best, my son, he's a good man. Go to the person they don't necessarily get along with and see what they have to say to. A family member, not a hater in the community. But a family member, just get a different perspective. Because we're not all great all the time.
Right. So I have a comment from Daquan real quick. Daquan says, a poor brother who gets the right woman can become so much more. Women are graced to pull the king out of us. My wife has helped me become a better man in a plethora of ways. I'm 10 times better than I was before I married my queen. Wow. You better speak, Daquan.
Nephew.
Talk about it. Yes. I love when a man honor and speaks about his woman like that. That is just, oh my God, I love it. Thank you, brother, for sharing that. Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Just to go back to that other question, I wanted to chime in because.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry, Rochelle.
I mean, when somebody tell me that they're a atheist or whatever, I'm pretty much checking out. You know what I'm saying? Because I know what I want. You know what I'm saying? I want that man to have a higher power, believe in something. My husband, he's Muslim. I'm Christian or whatever. So a lot of people used to be like, y'all not equally good. In some religions, to people because he's not a Christian. But when we came together, when we talked about it, we came together and we talked about our different religions. We kind of noticed that some of our beliefs were the same. Yeah, we disagree on a little bit on things, but we compromise it or whatever. But I let him practice what he want to practice, and I practice what I want to practice. He teaches me some things, I teach him some things or whatever. So yeah, we learn. It's a learning thing.
And you hit, I mean, what you said was we talked about it. When we came together, we talked about it. And that's the important piece. And that's the piece that has been missed in a lot of religions. And I'll be honest with you, before I got married, I don't recall asking the questions that I now ask, right? Mm-hmm. I just didn't, when we were talking last night on the show, we was just saying, this is what you're supposed to do. You finish school, you do this, and then the expectation is that you get married. So, I didn't fall into that trend, but when I was proposed to and then I got married, the questions that I now put on the table to talk about, I never asked those questions. And I'm like, why didn't I ask those questions? I didn't know to. I didn't know then. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't know how important it was until you actually go through, the marriage and say, oh, wow, these are some of the things that I probably should have asked about, and vice versa. There were some things that maybe he should have asked about in regards to me, right? But now, I'm in a new relationship, y'all. But it's different. We before we even, decided to step into the relationship, we talked. We had like real conversations. And some of the questions that I brought up, those were the questions that, I asked him. And we both was very transparent with each other, right? So I think that it's important because now it's on the table of what you're dealing with. There's no secrets. There's no aha, surprise.
First 350.
Right. So, talking is so important. It's really important to get that out. Let me see, what are we saying?
I think people talking is so underrated. I think today, in the age of social media and cell phones and texting, talking is an art form that's been lost. Mm-hmm. People don't know how to communicate in a person's face. Mm-hmm. Like people will text, like, just call me. Like, why can't we have? I'm glad I'm a little older and we're older people. So we come from that era of being able to talk on the phone, have a conversation, and get to know somebody. But these people today, like, how are you dating somebody and you haven't heard their voice all day? Like, what the heck is that? Yeah. You've been texting, but not that they can't pick up the phone and call you. Oh, well, you don't like to talk on the phone.
Yeah. Nah.
What is that?
Yeah, I
How do you get to know a person?
I agree.
Like, to me, that's so weird, and I'm glad I missed that. I feel sorry for my kids. Like, I'm on it, though.
You on it?
Yeah, I'm on it, though. You have to talk to my baby.
One more question, guys, before we wrap up. And I think this is an important question. How do you keep a relationship high? How do you keep it going? How do you keep it alive?
Well, for me, I keep it alive. I mean, the things that we do, I like for him to communicate with me. He talks to me. Saying he speaks to me. He gives me some knowledge, things that I don't know. He teaches me things that I don't know. I teach him. Mm-hmm. We go to the gym together. That's hot to me. Let's do the things. We go to the gym, work out, get in shape together. Mm-hmm. We encourage each other.
All right.
When he at work, I send him a little text saying, "I love you, baby."
I thought you was going to say something else, girl. I thought you said some other
stuff. I'll call him up, say I miss you, and everything. Going out on dates. Mm-hmm. at least go out and go on dates, enjoy yourself. You know what I'm saying? So that's the kind of things that we can do to, keep it hot.
All right. Okay. Eli, how you keep it hot? Because you've been married for how long? You just had an anniversary, right?
17 years.
Happy anniversary.
Congrats.
Thank you. I thought I'd have messed this up by now. Communication is definitely key. I don't think I was, as much as I thought I was in the beginning, I wasn't a great communicator. I feel like, here's what I'll say. I think I learned to be a better communicator with her because I could do that with anybody else. I could sit with my boys. I could sit with a coworker, listen to all their problems and give them valuable feedback. But when it came to my own stuff, hot mess. Mm-hmm. So I had to learn to be that for myself. Mm-hmm. And dating, you have to date your partner still. Mm-hmm. And I think what happens, we get so caught up in trying to provide that we forget to still date and make her feel special. We figure that if you're able to buy what you want, you live in a comfortable neighborhood, you have the car you want, that should be enough. That's just not enough. And as I've learned growing into, almost 50 and being married for a while, I know that those things are not enough. And I think my wife values just time where we can just sit and we're just holding hands and touching, watching TV. Small things. Mm-hmm. Now, she likes expensive things. Don't get that part twisted. But just the intimacy, I think of I'm a touchy-feely person anyway. So just the intimacy of that, and you have to date and communicate. Mm-hmm. And I think that once you know a woman's love languages, things that turn her on, mm-hmm. like I figured it. Once I figure that out, I got you anyway. But once I know those things that turn you on, I'm going to do those things because then I get what I want in the end. That sounds so primitive.
It did.
That's the man in me. I'm still a man.
I agree. I agree that, the love language is important to understand. Know what your spouse's love language is and also know what your love language is because you could be living in the same house and one of you might say, well, I don't feel love, and if your love language is personal touch and your spouse's love language is words of affirmation, mm-hmm. doesn't mean that he don't love you. It's just he's been affirming the heck out of you, but you prefer him to just like slap you on the butt every now and then, for some personal touch. So, just being able to know the love language between each other. The other thing, too, is I love to be stimulated here. Yes. Stimulate my mind. I think that's important to just sit and talk, right? Because we're always evolving and changing. So the person that I, may have fell in love with early on, you may have changed a little bit. And I want to know who that person is now, right? Mm-hmm. Who are you? They say that we change every 7 years, we're a different person, right? Wow. So you're not the same person you was at age 7. You're not the same person you were at age 14. You're not going to be the same person you were at 21, right? We change. Mm-hmm. And some people, how many times have we heard in relationships, we're like, you ain't the same person. You ain't the person got married. You're not supposed to be, right? Mm-hmm. So it doesn't mean that, part of that person is not there. It's just that put effort into getting to know who you are evolving to. Mm-hmm. Who you don't want to be in the same space 5 years from now, than you was when we first met. So it's just being open to just get to know each other over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And remember why you first fell in love in the first place. Mm-hmm. You want to read some of these comments and then we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah. And I'm going to say one more important thing too. Hygiene.
Oh, he said hygiene. That's important.
In the relationship.
Oh my God, that's important.
And I say that because I once dated a girl and the back of her earring always stunk. And that bothered me.
The back of the earring?
Okay.
But that's something that people probably don't check.
The earring back.
If the earrings don't have the earrings in all the time. You're right.
And then once I take the earring back. All right, big one says.
Hold on, before you read them comments first, I just wanted to kind of add on there my perspective, but definitely say creativity to keeping things hot because all of you guys have mentioned, people evolve, through careers, relationships, children, life happens. And so being creative with kind of, what interests your spouse, flexibility, being flexible in your mindset, right? And trying different and new things. Unlearn and relearn. Like there are things that might have worked for you in your early 20s that might not work for you in your relationship 10 years down the line. And then lastly, gratitude for the small things. Like Eli had mentioned, it's the small things.
Yep.
Look at you wrapping up stuff. You go, girl. You go, girl. Eli, won't you get some of these comments real quick before we head out?
All right, Daquan says we have to pursue our woman with the intensity we had while trying to get her throughout the entire relationship. When we feel that we are good because we won, that's when we lose. Wow. Wow. Very good. Stanley Morgan says, do the right thing. That's right, Stan. I am a
Hey, Stan, we missed you last night, man. I'm a little bit upset with you. I ain't gonna lie, bro.
Liv says, stay active together, communicate, travel, date, do stuff together. Don't sit still and be stagnant. That is real talk.
Okay, and we got Andre says, Shay, don't come to Tampa again and don't see us.
Made it personal.
Oh, wow. All right. You got me there.
Hashtag earring backs. That's a t-shirt right there.
That's a t-shirt. That is a t-shirt. Any last minute words, Rochelle?
First I want to say thank you for having me. I enjoyed myself.
See?
On the conversation and everything. But I want to say, go to bed at night, say I love you, never go to bed angry.
Yeah.
And just keep your relationship fresh, always, bro.
Wow. Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on your first rebirth.
Thank you.
Jenn, any last minute words? I know you already did the wrap up, but
the only thing I would definitely like to say, thank you guys for having me. And then the comments were like super awesome. I love the questions.
Yes.
I love the feedback. Thank you guys. It was definitely very expansive and insightful.
All right.
Yeah, shout out to everybody who joined in.
Yeah, let's throw them names out.
Thank you.
Sis, Stan, Tanisha, Lucretia, Daquan, Miss Jerry, Andre. Who else? Stan. Oh my goodness. We have a lot of people on here tonight just giving us love. Thank y'all so much. If y'all enjoyed the show,
Robert
please.
Steele is on.
Yes, Roberta Steele. Thank you. Devin Steele, thank you. Thank you so much. Throw up the hearts if you enjoyed the show tonight.
Yes.
Eli, any more comments from you?
What's that?
What is that?
Earring backs. Hashtag earring backs.
You know what?
Oh my God for y'all.
So,
God bless y'all.
last night I had the opportunity to make the announcement that the Rebirth started on the Hottest Live Radio back in 2016, and we since have moved from there because unfortunately, the studio has shut down. However, we have a home. We are going to be with Philly Jams 95.3.
Yes, sir.
Starting in October. So I'm so excited about that. Every Monday night from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. So guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And remember that therapy is important. I don't care what it is, go to therapy, talk about it, talk to somebody. It's not about being crazy. It's being mentally healthy. So again, thank you so much. Thank you guys for joining us, and you guys have a great night.
Thank you.